The storm doesn't start with thunder. It starts with silence, the kind that crawls under your skin and asks, why are you still trying? You pretend you don't hear it, but deep down, you know it's not outside noise, it's inside rote. You've been faking strength for too long, smiling through the pressure, clapping for others while you collapse in private. And the worst part, no one even knows you're drowning, because the collapse, it's not loud, it's invisible. You don't want to quit because you're weak. You want to quit because you're tired of being strong alone. You've been dragging a weight no one helped you carry, wearing a face that doesn't match the war going on inside. This is the blanket, the lie you've been wrapped in, that if you just keep pretending, the pain will pass, that silence will save you, that maybe, if you hold on a little longer, someone will notice, but no one's coming. No applause, no rescue. So now you burn it, the blanket, the mask, the story that says you're fine. You burn it all because survival isn't the goal anymore. Becoming is. And becoming starts with one decision. Stop lying to yourself, even when no one sees it. You're still fighting. Even when no one hears your cries, you're still climbing. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're tired. And tired doesn't mean done. Lincoln buried his children, lost election after election, was labeled a failure, and still, he rose anyway. You're not in a rut. You're in a transformation. But it only starts when you stop negotiating with your weakness. You either stay in the basement with your excuses, or you light a match and burn your exit path. You know what kills more dreams than fear? Fatigue, the slow kind. The one that steals your fire without screaming. The one that makes you scroll instead of move. Breathe shallow instead of deep. Numb out instead of rise. But here's the truth, even in your lowest moment, you're still building. Even when it looks like nothing's changing, the decision to stay in it is rewiring your identity. That's the habit loop. That's the brain recognizing, we don't fold here. Cut the rope or die lost. This isn't a pep talk. This is a resurrection. You've mourned long enough. You've apologized enough. You've waited long enough for someone to give you permission to be great. But greatness doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes with fire. You won't scream this time. You'll whisper, because pain teaches better in silence, and from now on your silence won't be sadness, it will be steel. The storm in the basement is still raging, but now you're facing it, bare feet, bare soul, bare will. You're not begging for it to stop anymore. You're stepping into it because this is the moment everything shifts, not when you win, not when they clap, but right now in the dark, when no one's watching. That's where the real you is forged. Say it again. I rise anyway. And louder now. I rise anyway. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You don't need more noise. You need stillness. Not the kind that soothes. The kind that sharpens. The kind that forces you to sit with your scars and ask, what are you really afraid of? At first, the silence feels like punishment. Like the world turned its back. Like your progress vanished. But what if the silence isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? You scroll to escape. You call to be heard. But growth doesn't answer noise. It whispers to those willing to listen. Deep inside the ache. Deep inside the pause. You can't hear your next move until you stop replaying the last one. Silence is the anvil. Pain is the hammer. And right now, you're being forged. You don't need another voice telling you you're strong. You need your own voice to whisper it when no one else is around. This is where warriors are built. In private, in pain, in quiet, even in silence. I rise anyway. Every day your brain is trying to protect you from discomfort. It wants dopamine. It wants comfort. It wants escape. But silence robs it of stimulation. And in that vacuum, the real identity starts to surface. Silence is a filter. It removes everything not meant to stay. You're not lonely. You're being pulled inward, into the fire, into the structure, into the self that doesn't explain anymore. They won't see what you're building, because it's happening in places they'll never visit. Places inside you that have no lights, only sparks. Cut the noise or stay numb forever. Nikola Tesla didn't beg to be understood. He didn't perform. He went silent. and came back with lightning. That's what you do now. You don't need applause. You need alignment. You don't need noise. You need new wiring. You don't need comfort. You need clarity. Even in silence, I rise anyway. There's a part of you that still thinks you need permission, that if no one claps, your work isn't real. But silence has always been the gatekeeper between average and immortal. You either walk through it, or you wait forever for a cheer that never comes. Stillness is sacred. You don't sit still to quit. You sit still to hear your orders, to download your next level, to strip away every addiction to being seen. You're not broken. You're becoming. But becoming doesn't scream. It sharpens, quietly, daily, with intention. This is where the storm in the basement gets a door, and you sit beside it. You feel its wind. You hear its roar, but you don't run anymore. You don't flinch. You breathe. You center. You decide. Silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're getting strong enough to hear the truth. Say it again. Even in silence, I rise anyway. Say it again. I'm not done yet. Doubt never walks in loud. It whispers. It sounds like logic, like safety, like maybe now isn't the time. But doubt is a liar, dressed in calm. It doesn't shout to stop you. It gently asks you to pause, and that pause becomes a pattern. That hesitation becomes your home. That silence becomes your prison. The mind doesn't need proof to panic. It just needs a pattern. And every time you stop short, it remembers. It learns we don't finish things here. Doubt rewires your identity in the shadows. Not with fear, with delay. And delay kills more dreams than failure ever could. So now, you swing. No more thinking. No more waiting. No more downloading advice from people who've never walked where you're going. You don't need another voice in your head. You need a hammer in your hand. Action is the cure. Every move you make is a vote against the voice that told you you're not enough, not smart enough, not skilled enough, not ready. But readiness is a myth. There is no right time. There's only now, and what you're willing to strike while it burns. Even when I don't feel ready, I rise anyway. Doubt only wins when you stop swinging. The brain loves comfort. That's its default setting. Avoid pain, seek ease, reward safety. But growth doesn't happen in safety. It happens when you act before your feelings catch up. That's the loop. That's the rewiring. You don't wait for clarity. You hammer it into place. Cut the excuses or get crushed by them. Edison didn't ask for certainty. He failed 10,000 times. And every failure rewired his identity into persistence. That's not genius. That's refusal. That's force. You want change? Build rhythm. Build identity through reps, not reassurance. Every doubt you obey becomes a chain. Every doubt you hit becomes a step. Swing again. You don't need to feel it. You need to do it. You don't need confidence. You need command. And command only comes through chaos. You think too much. You analyze your fear instead of attacking it. You've talked yourself into doubt. Now talk yourself into war. Your doubt is leaking through the cracks. The storm in the basement is seeping through. So you board it shut, not with hope, but with decisions, not with theory, with action. Even when I don't feel ready, I rise anyway. Doubt doesn't deserve your patience. It deserves your hammer. Stillness is sacred, but hesitation is poison. You aren't waiting for the storm to pass. You're swinging through the flood. You're building as the roof caves in. That's what makes you unshakable. One hit, then another, and another. Not to feel better, but to become better. Say it again. Even when I don't feel ready, I rise anyway. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You've begged enough, bargained enough, delayed enough, and now the deal is off. No more compromising with your comfort. No more reasoning with your weakness. From this point forward, it's execution or extinction. You do or you dissolve. Every time you hesitate, you tell your brain that feelings come first, and your brain listens. That's the habit loop. Reward the delay and you program defeat. But now we flip the code. No more deals, no more discussions, no more maybe tomorrow. From now on, it's war with anything that sounds like later. Discipline doesn't wait for your mood. It doesn't check how you feel. It checks whether you show up. You want results? Burn the option to quit. Burn the excuses. Burn the escape routes. Burn the belief that you need to feel ready. No feelings, only fire. I rise anyway. The basement storm still screams, but it no longer commands you. You've chained it to the wall. You've silenced its negotiation. You are not your emotions. You are not your hesitation. You are your decision. Cut the delay, or get cut by it. David Goggins ran on broken legs, not because it made sense, but because the mission was louder than the pain. That's where you live now, beyond sense, inside standard, above surrender. You stop asking, can I do this? You start declaring, this is who I am. Even if it hurts, even if it's silent, even if no one claps, even if no one believes in you, but you rise anyway. Your brain wants a reason to pause. Give it a reason to move. Your doubt wants more time. Give it none. No backup plan. No plan B. No return route. Only forward. Stillness is sacred, but softness is sabotage. You don't walk into greatness. You drag yourself bleeding, if you have to. That's the standard now. No feelings, only fire. I rise anyway. When you wake up tomorrow, the war will still be there, but so will the fire. And now that fire has a voice. It says, no matter what, I rise anyway. Say it again. I rise anyway. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You don't need another spark. You need a furnace. Something that burns even when the wind howls, even when no one's watching, even when you don't feel like showing up. You've chased the hype long enough. You've waited for the perfect mood, the right alignment, the magic rush. But now you know, fire without structure is chaos. Heat without aim is waste. This isn't about bursts anymore. It's about bricks. It's about systems, reps, rituals, not to impress, to become. I am not hype. I am heat. I rise anyway. Every day your brain hunts dopamine. The quick win, the fast result, the scroll, the applause. But dopamine fades, discipline imprints, and repetition rewires. Your identity is shaped by what you do in silence, not what you post in public. So build the fire, then anchor it. Anchor it with the morning ritual. Anchor it with non-negotiable movement. Anchor it with words you repeat, even when you don't feel them yet. Consistency beats intensity every time. The storm in the basement hasn't stopped. It's changed forms. It's become a furnace now. A controlled flame that forges your next self, and you're not running from it anymore. You're using it. Cut the noise, build the rhythm, turn the pain into process. Andrew Carnegie didn't build steel with inspiration. He built it with structure. Same hours, same rituals, same standard, until it was no longer a habit. It was who he was. You want to evolve. Show up like it's sacred. Show up like your next level is on the other side of one more quiet rep. I am not hype. I am heat. I rise anyway. Stillness is sacred, but structure is survival. This fire doesn't roar. It hums. It builds. It burns steady. And every time you show up without applause, it grows hotter. No one sees your repetition, but the results will scream what your words never had to. You don't need to get louder. You need to get more consistent. Say it again. I am not hype. I am heat. I rise anyway. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You thought strength was speed, that greatness would come fast, loud, and thunderous. But real power is slow. Real power is heavy. This is where the applause fades. The fire's still burning, but the air is thin. This is where most people stop. Not because they're weak, but because they were never taught how to carry pressure without breaking. But you're not most people. The weight is part of the process. The heaviness you feel, that's growth with a cost. That's your old identity dying slow. And the stronger you become, the more weight you earn. Even with the weight, I rise anyway. The storm in the basement doesn't scream anymore. It walks beside you now. Not to haunt you, but to test you. Every step forward, it whispers. Are you sure you still want this? And your answer isn't loud. It's steady. It's in the rep, the breath, the step, the next move. When everything in you says stop, your mind wants relief, your body wants rest, Your emotions want escape, but none of those voices build legacy. Only action does. This is identity on autopilot. This is the moment discipline becomes default. The subconscious mind doesn't change with words. It changes with rhythm, with rituals repeated under resistance. Cut the hype, carry the weight. Nelson Mandela didn't lead from a stage. He led from a prison cell. Every day the weight of time pressed down on him, and still, he walked with it. This isn't about how loud you are. It's about how long you last. Stillness is sacred, but stamina is salvation. You're not chasing ease. You're chasing evolution, and evolution always comes with exhaustion, always comes with drag, always comes with the kind of pressure you can't describe. Only endure. Even with the weight, I rise anyway. You don't need new motivation. You need old commitments honored. You don't need new hype. You need to keep showing up where others disappear. Because strength isn't loud, it's loyal. Say it again. Even with the weight, I rise anyway. Say it again. I'm not done yet. You don't return to the old you. You bury them. You've walked through too much fire to crawl back to who you used to be. That version of you was built on survival. This one is built on power. You're not recovering, you're rebuilding. Piece by piece, fire by fire, pain by purpose. And now you don't explain anymore. You embody. You no longer rise to prove. You rise to plant, to build something they can't erase. A shift so deep it echoes in rooms you've never walked into. I don't return. I rise anyway. Legacy doesn't scream. It stamps. It stays. It's not about who notices you now. It's about who becomes stronger because you never quit. You used to chase transformation. Now you are the transformation. You used to wait for change. Now you carry it. The mind doesn't hold on to moments. It holds on to meanings. And this new identity, it's carved in repetition, forged in fire, sealed in silence. Cut the old story. Cement the new standard. You're not healing anymore. You're leading. You're not rebuilding for applause. You're building for impact. You're not chasing approval. You're walking in authority. Stillness is sacred, but legacy is louder. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't raise his voice for attention. He raised it for history, not to echo, but to etch. And now it's your turn. You don't leave sparks. You leave structure. You don't fade out. You get passed on. Because when people look at your life, they'll see the shift, the line in the sand, the person who never went back. You don't return. You rise anyway. This is who you are now. Not hype, not hope. Proof, power, permanence. Say it again. I don't return. I rise anyway. Say it again. I'm not done yet.